Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Cloud-Based Mayhem. My guest today is Celine Lorenz, the only female who competed in this year's Red Bull X Alps. She was a veteran. She competed for the first time in 23, but hurt her foot before that race even started. So had a tough race in 23, but hung in there as long as she could. And then this year she had an amazing race and was a lot of fun to tie in with her at various points during the race and her wonderful team. We talk about how she chose her team and put that team together and how much fun they had. You all saw the footage, I'm sure, from her incredible adventure. I think it was day 4 or day 5 between DeSantis and the Nissan when she tried to make the same move that those in front of her had done over the Grimsel and didn't pull it off. It was a pretty strong lee that day and ended up on the wrong side of a river and contemplated having to get a helicopter because she was told from one of the local refugio owners that, oh, it's really beautiful down there, but you're never going to get out. But she did get out. There was a drone pilot in there from the organization who was able to capture a bunch of that. But she certainly got the gold for the wildest adventure in the race. You know, all the athletes and all the teams are going to have some pretty wild adventures in the X Alps, but hers was really remarkable and pretty wild to watch and to hear about. So we talk about that. We talk about risk, how she got into all this, how she trained differently this time around. And she's getting ready for the Worlds right now, so life's moving along quite quickly. She was in her van when we did this and heading down to France to start training for the Worlds. And we talk about 27. She's already getting excited for that. So happily for all of the fans, we're going to be seeing Celine again in 27, and just a pleasure. She's just got such a fabulous attitude, and you can tell she and her team were having so much fun. And we jump into all the aspects of what this race is and what it meant to her and what it means to fly like a woman. She put out a really cool post about that before she got started, and I just found her and her team very inspiring and a lot of fun, and it was great to observe from the outside. And this is a little more of the inside look. Enjoy. Celine, thanks for taking the time to sit down with me. It looks like you're traveling. You got your great little van there, and I'm excited to talk to you about your race and flying and life. How are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much that I can be here. I'm great. I'm now on my way to France with the van. And yeah, I'm also looking forward to talk with you now.
Is van home always or no?
Quite a lot. Yeah, I'm spending a lot of time on the road and not a lot of time not at home. So yeah, it's something like home. Yeah.
And you do tandems typically in the summer with Ernesto and those guys in Garmisch. Is that right?
Yeah, and now like last summer and this summer it's a bit less because always the slots were blocked for tandems. It's always shit weather, but normally in summer I either teach a bit and fly tandem. Yeah.
How'd you get into all this? I don't know your backstory that much. You and I had a quick chat before the 23 race, and you told me about your boyfriend, that crazy accident. So I know a little bit, but how did you get into all this?
Like no one of my family and no one of my friends in my childhood was flying, so I never really had a contact with that in the beginning. But for my 11th birthday, I got a tandem flight as a present from my mom, and because we were living close to Kössen, and it's always full with paragliders. So yeah, I got that for a birthday present as a surprise. And it's funny because I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I rewatched the video from my first flight, and it was so cool.
Oh, cool.
And this really sparked everything. Like it was just crazy, this feeling for me. And from that moment on, I collected every cent, every euro I got into my hands to be able to do the license when I was 15, 16, to be able to finance the license and my first equipment. Because also at this time, I was working a lot already at the refuge of my mom. She has a refuge in the Alps and I always helped there on the weekend. And I put a little box on the counter, so like with Celine's paraglider, and so the people could put like some cents or euros in, and as
Little
soon as I had collected
piggy bank
everything,
for your passion.
yes, yeah. And as soon as I had all the money, I went into the paragliding school like with a bag full of like small money, and I was like, "Here, I want to do my license." And they were like, "Are you sure you don't want to be like have a look for 1 or 2 days to check it if you like it?" And I was like, "No, I'm in." Yeah, and then it all started, and I just spent all my time in the paragliding school. I in the school, like in my real school, I said I'm sick to be able to be on the training hill to fly, and yeah, it was since that
How old are you now?
All about flying. I'm 26.
26. So 15 years ago, right? I think that's
more or less, right? No, 10 years.
10 years. Okay.
10 years. I start like since 10 years I'm flying my own, but
you did the
since
tandem
15 years
ago. So you were and you were living there in Kosan, and you're in the Kimsey zone. I mean, what a perfect place to learn how to do this. Doesn't get much better.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's a very good area to learn.
Yeah. And then when did you get involved with Niviuk?
With Niviuk, I'm since 2022. Yeah.
Okay. And was that?
Yeah, it started 2022, and then.
And that was because of PWCs and racing? I mean, it wasn't for hike and
fly
because. Yet, right?
Yeah, in the beginning, like I did the Dolomiti Superfly in that year with the climber already. And then I also started to fly competition with the peak. And and then everything came up. Yeah.
And before the 23 race, what was the X Alps always on your radar? Was this something that fascinated you from the beginning and you were working towards, or was it more, I think I should just do this kind of? Yeah.
It was like when I started paragliding in 2015, and the paragliding school, there was always like, it was at around the time of X Alps. There was always the live tracking of the X Alps in the room, and we were always like, it was already there when I started paragliding in that summer, and there I was like, oh, it's crazy what they do, and it's unreachable, and I never thought that I gonna be part of that. And for sure, it would have been cool. Like I thought, for sure it can be cool to be part of that, but it was like something where I thought I can never reach that. Like it's too far away. And then, now I was in X Alps already the second time. It's crazy.
Crazy. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know that many people know this about you. I certainly didn't. I know you've got a huge background in acro, but whenever I tied in with your team, both times, last time, but especially this time, I spent more time with your team and you, on days that weren't great, like day 2, that kind of thing. When I asked them, how's she doing? How's her headspace? What's going on? And they always say, it's great. It's awesome. And you were just, I've got that. I mean, you're a very confident pilot. Is that your acro background? Or, I mean, you didn't seem, I have very often seen athletes in these races who have been pretty overwhelmed, and you never seemed overwhelmed. You seemed like this was just your jam. You were digging it.
No, for sure. It gets mental in situations like this. And day 2 of this year's edition was tough in some moments. Just after the takeoff, I had a really sketchy situation just close to a rocky face. And there I was really quickly, like, it was very like short, or how do you say? I don't know. I was really thinking like, I just stop. It was really, really close to the wall where I got a collapse. But I managed, and I had a little cascade, but it was okay. And there was like, okay, now I just look for a safe landing. And then I just like breathed a bit and I found the focus again. And then I went around the corner. I was like thinking like, where am I now? I'm fully on the lee. Okay, that's why this happened. And then I could explain. For sure, it was also maybe also the föhn was not the best moment to fly, but I could I know why I was in this situation. And then I just went to the good place. I found a good them, and then I breathed a few times, and then it was all good again. I found the focus again, and then I was like, yeah, it's all good and it feels good. And then I continued, and then I found the focus, and it was really good again.
I mean, you just...
I don't know. And for sure, I think also the acro helps for sure if you know how to handle a wing and a lot of situations. For sure, that helps. Yeah.
23, you had a disappointing early exit because of your foot. And I'm curious what you learned from that, what you changed going into this one. Is it certainly seemed... I mean, I was just talking about this with Simone, who just did his 5th one, and coming in as a rookie is it's just so much. I mean, there's so much anyway as a veteran, but there's so much. I imagine, there's lots of things that you could go, yeah, I would do that differently. But how did you approach this time, this edition, differently than the first time?
On the first time, I really trained too much because I was always like comparing myself with all these guys, and I knew that I'm not like body wise and on my feet not that strong as the guys. So I was really comparing too much, even if there's no room for comparison. But there I trained too much, and I had already some pain in my hips on the last exercise because I was a bit overtraining. And I also broke my back 6 months before the start of the race.
Oh, I didn't know that. What happened?
It was a compression break. It was not with metal inside, but had a compression break. And this was all adding, like, I was, not in the best shape for the 23.
How'd you break your back? What happened?
I was flying with the acro wing and not on a really good day. It was a bit bumpy, and then I just came in for landing a bit on the lee side, and it pushed me down a bit, and it was just a lot of sink. And I thought, I can break it, and I didn't went out of the harness completely to stop the impact with my legs, and I was like crashing with the ass. It was nothing. Yeah.
So it was minor,
nothing
but
too
it
crazy,
still affected training and stuff. Do you use a trainer, or do you do it all yourself?
Yeah, I have a trainer in Innsbruck.
Okay. Oh, great. I find that
and
helps
for
a lot.
this time, and for this time I changed that. I also listen more to my body. If I feel like something is a bit hurting, I just put a break and listen more to my body and don't come into overtraining. That was a big focus of myself, to not do too much, to be really in everything I can give for the race.
Right before, I can't really remember the exact timing of this. I don't know if it was before the prologue or for the main race, but I was following your feed, and I don't know how much of that is you doing that or you had a media person. I wasn't sure, but you had a post that said "Fly like a woman." What does that mean to you? I loved that, but what does that mean? I mean, it's got to be intimidating, I would think. It's you and all the guys in this race.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
It means to me to like also try to empower women to fly, and to empower them. If they want to do something, that they should go for it, and that they should just believe in themselves and also try new things. And if they want to try something tricky, because some guys say like, but you think you should do that, they should just go and do it. even if they are a woman. You know what I mean?
Okay, so ignore the chatter.
Yeah.
Go with what you feel on the inside.
Yeah, if they feel good, they should go for it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I got to spend a really wonderful hour with your team in St. Moritz. I think you had just left. You were heading back up to launch, and I talked Teresa into having a beer. They weren't supposed to, but we had a really nice afternoon together. How did you choose your team? How did she's not a pilot. I guess you guys went to school together in Innsbruck. She is lovely, by the way. My gosh.
Yeah.
But what does how'd you choose your team? And was it different than in 23?
Yeah, it was a bit different. The only one who was already there in 2023 was Tim Ungewitter. But I really kept an eye on this time that everyone is super motivated, and that I also know them personally, and that I already have a connection with them, so we can also handle stressful situations when it gets tricky, when everyone is tired and pissed maybe, and so it's better to handle that if you already know the person a bit, I think. And I really kept an eye on that I have really motivated and good people for me. And with Teresa, she's an angel, really. She's from heaven.
She is from heaven.
I met her. Yeah, I met her in Innsbruck when we had a co-location there together. She studied and I did my, I was working as a pastry chef in Innsbruck. And yeah, it was a really good time. And she's just such a good person, and I really wanted to have her in my team. Like, she called me like, yeah, I'm not flying, and I'm planning my holidays for this summer, and do you think it's can be an option that I'm part of your team? And I was like, yeah, for sure. I was so happy that she asked me. And
she is an angel.
I'm really grateful
you could
for
just
everyone.
tell her energy is just, I just wanted to wrap her up every time I saw her. She's so lovely.
Yeah, and it was for everyone in my team. I really I'm super grateful, and everyone is good in their own stuff, and it was like a puzzle. It was really good.
Take us through, because I these are the unsung heroes, right? And I talked about how important it is with Simone, and as a former athlete, I know how important it is. These people are so critical to your success. How many did you have, and what were their roles?
I had 5 supporters with me. It was Tim Ungewitter. He was the main supporter. He was there to have the overview. He wasn't with the routing. He was looking for the weather, and that was his main job. Then I had Noé Cour, a Swiss guy. Oh. He was so good. He was routing a lot, and he was hiking with me and kicking my ass on there.
He's a really good hike and fly athlete, isn't it? Right?
Yes,
Noe?
yes.
Cool. Yes. You say it differently than I would say. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, wow. Yeah. Oh, he'd be fantastic.
Yeah, he's the best. Yeah. Then Anton Söke, he was also he was mainly also running with me and hiking and being my Sherpa. And then I had Daniel with me also. He was there with the camera and doing content and for social media. And Teresa, she was physio and the good soul of the team in cooking and
morale. She was there for with morale.
Yeah. And then Tim and Teresa both were also driving the cars, and it was very good. And I also had Reinhard in Switzerland. He was doing the meteo for us. Every evening we had a meteorologist who gave us a big overview of the weather and of where we were and what could be the option for the next day, for the route where we go to, and
How was that? Did you enjoy that? Did it help?
It helped, yeah, because we spend less time to have our forecast for the next days. It was cool to have it, but for sure the weather is always where you are now, and you look outside, it's always a bit different than in the forecast. The forecast is still the forecast, but it was good to have. It was good to make already a plan for the next day, to have like a little overview. Yeah, so it was helpful.
Yeah, I didn't have one in 2015, which was my best year, my first time, and then I learned that Gaspard Petio had one, and it was a guy that had done it since the very beginning. He'd done it for some teams since 2003, Laurent, and he was amazing. And he worked for Medio France and lived in Chamonix and really understood the race. But how you process that information, I think, is really, in 2017, both Gaspard and I used him, and Gaspard used it to his advantage. And for me, it didn't work at all. It was really interesting because it would put, well, it's supposed to be like this in my head, and it removed what I'm naturally good at, which is reading the sky and doing my thing. And we did it again in 2019, and then I didn't do it in 21. Not, it doesn't have anything to do with the results, but it was interesting because I actually didn't enjoy it. It didn't work for me, and that was, I think, probably my own weakness. But I kind of liked it better when my team was doing it, because they know me really well, and they know how. When I tend to do better when it's nasty. And so when it's nasty, they wouldn't say directly it's going to be nasty, but I could just tell. And it was, rather than having the forecast, it just sounded impossible. Anyway, that was an interesting thing for me, but because I just talked to Simone yesterday on the podcast, it's just kind of fresh in my mind, but he's done so well, all five. He's always been sixth or better. So he's kind of cracked the X Alps code, if you will. He was saying one of the most important things is knowing your strengths and playing to your strengths. Kriegel talks about this as well. And Thomas Terlo, who he worked with for years, said, you have to work on your weaknesses, but you really have to play to your strengths. What are your strengths? Where are you strong?
I think I'm strong in being like, a friend of mine, she said it like, I'm like a husky. She compared me like this. I'm not like a wind dog. I'm not super fast. I'm not fast on my legs, but I'm like a husky. I keep on going even if it's shit and hard. Like, I'm just
relentless,
fighting through. Yes.
I like that.
Even if my body hurts, if I'm just keep on going like a tractor. And that's my strength. I can just fight through a lot, I think. And for sure, also my flying is, I think I'm confident with my flying also.
So when it's rowdy and it's on the edge, that's a strength. It doesn't freak you out. You've got it. I mean, obviously paragliding is scary sometimes, but it's I think that's important to be strong in those situations, because it's very rarely recreational flying in this race.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Sometimes it's really scary and sketchy situations, but then I think I'm good in trying keeping the focus, or getting the focus back, and just try to focus on the moment and to be like as safe as possible.
Anybody who saw the race, and even anybody who tuned in for very little time, knows about your epic adventure heading in towards, I don't know what the Weisshorn, but something Horn, and the east of Eiger. So you're over the Furka and you're heading towards the Nissen turn point. So anyone can go back who's listening to this and see, Red Bull did a great clip on it, and there's all kinds of drone footage. It was just, you had an epic. That was unbelievable. I mean, of all the people in this race, you had the greatest adventure, I would say. And when they did the interview with you, you said a lot of things like, it was shit and it was fucked. And but I imagine now that Type 3 fun has probably changed, and you're probably glad you had that adventure. What I don't know is what happened. What was it cloudy? Did you miss a thermal? How did you end up down there?
It was a tricky day. Like, normally it was starting quite well. I had some good thermals. The cloud base was a bit low, but I tried to get everything as what I could get. And I took the route which every guy took, or a lot of guys took. And I wanted to win for the same. It was at Grimsel Pass, to cross over Grimsel Lake, and then continue flying to Nice. And yeah, I knew that Kriegel also did it a bit lower and he could catch something. And I was not that high on the crossing, and I was like, okay, I keep on going, I go for it. But I didn't really thought about the fact that the guys who took that route went there earlier in the day, like on the timing. So I didn't calculate, like I knew that Grimsel is windy, it's known for that. But yeah, it was windier as I expected. So, but I thought like, I go on the lee side because there was a very nice cloud above that ridge where I wanted to cross over. And I was like, yeah, I need to work. Like this cloud is building. It looks perfect, like picture perfect thermal cloud building up. And I was like, yeah, the lee side needs to work. It's a really good day. It was really strong also. So I was like, yeah, it needs to work. But the lee side was just flushing me down. And because I was like, yeah, should I go to the north and with the wind and then catch it and take the thermal, or I tried the lee side? Yeah, it was really bad, and I was just I just saw the lake and all like rocky and all full of trees. There's not really a track, like the track is going in the trees, so it just pushed me down. And then the moment where you already like know that you go a bit more in front in your harness and you're really in tension, and you're like,
breathing,
it was really yes, and it was just really not nice. And then I thought like, yeah, but it needs to work, like this clouds, and it's but no, it was really just like the deepest sound I could ever hear from the value was there, like really like roar. And then yeah, I was really not so nice, and I could see also the wind with the trees in the valley or with the bushes. And then I was not really thinking of like not really looking for the tracks. I was just looking for a safe landing there in the valley. And I went there. It was a small little field with some beautiful purple, not purple, turquoise glacier lakes. And I was like, yeah, it looks pretty. It looks good. It's not like it was
safe.
The best place in the lee side, yeah, to land. Because the other side was a bit rocky and also really windy. So I was like, yeah, I land there safe. And then in the first moment, I didn't realize that it's a really shit place, that I'm stuck there. And then I restarted the search to cross the river there from like a glacier river. And it was a really strong river also, because it's a very huge glacier there in the back with a lot of water. And we searched so long, and we tried to find a path in the front close to the lake, because I thought the river is spreading there. So the energy's more spread and maybe it's better to cross there. No. And I also already thought to swim in the lake, but there was so much like currents, and I was like, no, and it's super cold. Then I got a call from one of the X-Alps Orga. He was like, yeah, are you safe? And they said like, yeah, you cannot really exit there. Are you really sure you're safe? And I said, yeah, I tried to find a way. And then it was funny because then I was hearing like a drone, and I was like, I couldn't see anything. And then I saw this drone, and I was just waving, and I didn't know from who it was, if it was from the Orga or from a tourist or from someone. But it was funny because in this moment I didn't feel so alone. I was like, yeah, someone sees me.
Yeah. They know I'm out here.
And yeah, I'm not alone. And then then the local guy from the refuge there in the valley called me, and he said like in Swiss Dutch, Swiss German dialect, he said to me like, yeah, you landed in a beautiful place, but you never get out of there again. And I was like, oh no.
Enjoy.
Yes.
You're trapped, but have a nice look around.
Yes. Yeah. So we were really close to call the helicopter, and I was like, no, there needs to be a way. And then he said the only option is maybe to go all the way back to the glacier and to find a way there. And because we already also thought to climb up on the side of Murin, or how do you say that, on the side of the glacier, moraine, but there was so much rockfall, so it was really bad because it was a thought to climb up the Murin and just fly over the river to the other side and land there and go out. But it was crazy, like the rockfall was crazy. And then we just went all the way back to the glacier. And what was also really not so good was that my supporters then also came into the valley, and they were on the other side of the river, on the good side where is the path. And we couldn't really talk to each other. We were screaming, but it was too loud. They couldn't hear us. Yeah. So we couldn't communicate. And then we tried to call, but there was no connection anymore. So we just tried to find something. And then we went all the way back. It was like 7 kilometers or something. And then we found like a bit sketchy bridge of rocks. And it was, a bit sketchy, but we could cross it. And then we made it. And we were super happy, but it took us 7 hours in total to exit that valley.
Wow.
And I would have never thought that. I was like, we are in the Alps, there are tracks everywhere. There's it's people everywhere normally.
Yeah, it's
not there.
It is remarkable how deep it can get, even in the Alps. That was.
But it's cool also.
That route, the Grimsel, I don't know what we even call that, but I was up on the Nissen that day when Kriegel pushed in there first and then kind of had to turn around and come back out, and the rest of the group caught him up. But was that the plan for you all? I mean, I didn't do a lot of route study this time because I wasn't competing. So, but when I was on the Nissen and I saw him doing that, I went, wait, what? What is this line? That just wasn't on my radar at all. And maybe if I'd studied it's obvious, it's direct, but was that the plan originally?
Yeah,
it was. Okay.
I had it in my, I had it, but I was not sure if it works. And then the guys in front did it. But for sure it works. But the guys in front did it, and it worked really well. So
okay,
that was cool.
Yeah, I blew the commentary on that one before that because I thought they would go either backdoor into Grindelwald or stay with the Fisch line and then up and over at Leukerbad or something. I didn't have that on my radar. That was very cool. But as you proved, also not without its risks. Celine, and you could do either 23 or 25, but give me the ultimate best memory and the ultimate worst memory, or the high and low from your two campaigns. And maybe they could both be from this race, I guess, but whatever pops into your mind.
The worst from this year's was on day 2, where it was just with the föhn on the after the takeoff of the first flight, of the flight on day 2. I had a really big collapse with stalling and on the lee side. It was not good. So that was the worst.
Wait, is this from when I saw you up at Sexton, that flight, or the next one?
The next one.
Because that looked lovely from the Sexton. Everybody that launched it looked great.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was actually okay. It was the second flight on day 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this, was the worst. I could also say the landing there in the valley because it cost me a lot of time, but there I was feeling better than when I got the collapse. So, and the best moment was, I think, landing in St. Moritz. It was really cool. It was really nice because we had a good day. My team was happy. There were some people. I had some pastry afterwards. It was a really good vibe. It was a really cool moment there in St. Moritz.
Oh, you mean going on the way out? You had a huge flight that day. You took off from Murano and made it all the way to St. Moritz, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was a super nice day. Yeah.
Wicked.
It was day 3, yeah.
Yeah, that was a really phenomenal flight. I mean, you did that in like 5 or 5.5 hours. You were cruising.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really good. Yes, I really enjoyed that day. Yeah, it was really good. And on the 23, for sure. I don't know if I can also count the pre-week in this because I twisted my ankle in the pre-week, so this was a really bad moment of that
Oh, I
episode.
forgot that. That's right. You did that before.
I twisted my ankle in the pre-week.
Yeah, I forgot about
like
that.
in the shooting, in the pre-shooting.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's just a
That was
mental
really bad.
crusher. You're just going, oh, what have I done? So much effort.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the best moments of the 23 was when I fucked up a flight from Achenthal towards Lermoos. The first flight, I was really a lot of east wind and I bombed out in the Inntal. And then the flight afterwards towards Garmisch was really nice because I just had one thermal, like I made, I think, 1,500 flight meters just in one thermal, straight up, like in one group. And then I flew to Garmisch, to my home, and there were so many people I know. I think when I was walking through Garmisch, we were like a bubble of 20 people
Nice
walking
parade.
through Garmisch, and yes, and that was really cool. That was a really cool moment to have all my friends there and everyone cheering, and yeah, it was cool.
Is it how much of a advantage, disadvantage is it to know a place? Yeah, it's interesting that, like Aaron Durigati this time, his knowledge of a place in Murano really kind of hurt him there. He decided to go to the standard launch, which was really in the lee on that day too. Pretty ferocious fern conditions, and yeah, it was just a bad call, and it hurt him. It didn't end up obviously hurting him that bad. He won the race, but the people who weren't from there did what was logical. They went over on the windward side, on the other side of the valley, and still strong, was still pretty exciting
Yeah.
flying, but it was the right thing to do. And we see that a lot, right? We see it all the time in the World Cup. We always talk about, it's never the local hero that wins. It's somebody that doesn't know the place. But I'm curious because the Alps are so big. This route is so big. I mean, you can't be an expert on the whole thing. Well, maybe if you're Kriegel and you've done it this many times, but how much, like being really knowledgeable about the Kimsey and the Intal, like I'm not sure I'm saying that right, and Garmisch, that area, Lermoos, does that really help, or do you think it really hurts?
For me, it hurts.
Interesting.
I'm also not a big fan of scouting your route a lot before the race because it's so much different in the race, and a valley can be so different in so many different weather situations. So you can be there in the spring and scout it, and you have like super strong spring thermals, and then you can be there in the Alps and it's föhn or it's rainy or like a mix of whatever, and then it's completely different. So I'm not a huge fan of scouting and knowing the place very well. For me, I'm also more a fan of going somewhere and fly logical and just use what you have there at the moment. And also on the 23 edition on Steinplatte in Austria, normally that's also like kind of a home spot. And I was also flying the normal route, which is always flown and where I was already flying a lot. And I bombed out. Yeah, and it was hurting myself a lot also. So I really like to fly on places which I'm not really know, like I was not flying a lot before, because then you just take what you have at the moment. And I think you should always fly like this, but at the like in the valleys, you already know it's different. Yeah.
What kind of headspace do you try to bring to the race? From what you learned in 23, uh, one of the things I have found fascinating is I'm almost kind of a historian of the race now at this point. I've watched so many years, and then I did it, and then now I'm on the other side doing the media side of things. But I think it's fascinating that I used to always make the argument that the reason Kriegel was so dominant was because he has so much experience in all of the things. Yeah, he was an acro champion. He was a World Cup champion. He's ferocious about his training. I mean, he's got the greatest tools, right, in his toolbox. But again and again, we're seeing that, it's not necessary to be a World Cup pilot. Paul Guschelbauer's never been a World Cup pilot. Tom de Dorlado, Simon Oberauner doesn't do World Cups, and Tommy, and, maybe they do them every once in a while. I don't follow them that closely, but, it's not. I used to always think that it was really important to know how to fly really fast in the race on those good days. We saw that in 2013 with Kriegel and Aaron and just stomping out front that first day down the Pinzgauer. But that doesn't seem to be in when I look at my own races, I think that hurt me being a World Cup pilot. I don't do a ton of World Cups, but for the last 10 plus years, I've done quite a few. And I think what often really hurt me in the X Alps was flying too fast, was not just doing everything I could to stay in the air and, getting impatient. And Simon talked about that. That's kind of his key, is just being so patient and just flying really slow sometimes and making sure you stay in the air. Anything like that for you? Is there, because you're a World Cup pilot, how to fly really fast. You're going down right now to train on your X1 for the Worlds. Helps, hurts? Do you have to just totally shift your mindset?
I think it's like good if you can learn how to switch your mindset. It's cool to learn in the World Cup, and with competition you can learn to you can learn better to read the air, I think, because you have maybe a plan in your head if that could work or that could work, and then you have like 100 people there, you see the air, and then you are like, yeah, could my plan work, and what I maybe think in front, and then you have a lot of people who show you if it could have worked or not. So you learn a bit to read, and faster, I think, in comps, and better than when you just go and fly alone or with your friend. But for sure, you also need to shift, and that was a bit my problem also in this time, that sometimes I was not patient enough. Where I was a bit too much in the competition mode and I was like, oh no, like, go back into the hike and fly mode, be more patient, scratch, stay. Like, it doesn't matter how long you stay on this place in your search. If you find something, you're way faster by scratching here 1 hour, and then you are able to cross the ridge. Or if you bomb out now and you have to walk around this ridge, it's just way longer. So yeah, I think it's the competition flying can help a lot to learn for XUPs or hike and fly races, but you need to be able to switch. And I think that's what Kriegel is good in. Like, he has his tools, but he has a really strong mind, and he's really strong with his mind and with switching the modes. Yeah.
What part of this flying game thrills you the most? What do you like the best? Acro, World Cups, hike and fly, camaraderie, the community. What is it?
I think it's the mix of everything, that it's so, like, so you have so many sides of paragliding. For me, I think I could not just stay in comp flying. I could not just be full on hike and fly. I could not just fly full on acro. And I really like the mix of playing with the air and with the wing and with, do so much different stuff with the wing in the air. For me, it's what's really attractive to do. It's really cool.
You had the minor back injury before 6 months, I think, before 23. Have you had other accidents?
No, like, it was the biggest what I heard on my body in flying. I never broke a bone or anything. Some twisted ankle or some scratches from some bad landings, but I never broke anything.
What do you chalk up that to? That safety, that's pretty good. A lot of people have been pretty hurt in this sport. What is your approach?
I always, like, when it gets sketchy or when I'm feeling like not really safe, I'm always thinking like, okay, in the end of the day, I still want to be safe on the ground with my team in X-Alps or whatever, with my family back home. When I'm coming back from a competition, I'm always having the thought like, okay, I want to sit there, have a dinner with them. So what should I do now to be able to do that? Or so sometimes it's just more safe to go land and be like, okay, maybe I'm slower with this, but yeah. And I just really, when it gets sketchy, I try to just be in the moment and not try to stress, because when you stress and you just be like, oh, what the fuck, you don't help the situation. And you just need to look around. What do you have? In which situation are you really like? Are you in the lee? Are you like, how is the clouds? How's the wind? And yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah, but I try to keep the focus and to always prefer to be happy on the ground with my friends than pushing a bit more to, yeah.
There was a lot of chatter in this race on the social media side of things about the risk, that it's become more of a gladiator thing rather than an adventure. I don't buy much of that, to be honest with you, just be straight up, but I'd like to get your take. How do you manage your own risk in this race? And I don't know if you were privy to any of that. As athletes, you guys are busy, and I wasn't much either. I was hearing this kind of through the grapevine, but then after the race, I saw a lot of comments. There's a lot of armchair viewers who are pilots, and they understand, but everything is seen now. It didn't used to always be seen. It was the helicopter flying around, and it was more craft. It was a more crafted message. Now with the teams like yourself, you have your own media people. Everything goes out or can, and so people see a lot more. And so, what's your take on on that side of things, but also for your own how do you feel after the race? Do you think that was too much, or this is really on the edge, or is it all fine?
I think like I'm happy with my own decisions. I think for myself, I didn't took too much risk, and for me, I took safe decisions, because I think also in general, the athlete itself is can take the decision if he's taking off or not. The guys are very experienced, and they can look in the air and they see in what they probably take off into. But for example, day 2 on the X-Alp and also in the end of day 1 with the Thunder, I think it was quite on the edge. I saw some videos, and for me, that's maybe it's a bit risky to say, but it's also a bit, how do I say it right in English? It's maybe also a bit driven by the testosterone of the man, who is now pushing more and has the bigger balls. I'm sorry to say it in that way, but yeah, sometimes I think it's also a part, for sure, and that can get very like on the edge. And I just hope that nothing more serious is gonna happen in the next editions. But yeah, for sure, every athlete is responsible for their own decisions. They see in what they're gonna take off, and if you put more rules, it takes a bit the type of like the adventure. In the end, it's still an adventure race, but maybe there should be a shift in general for the pilots, to also say no to shit conditions, because yeah, it was just shit conditions.
But what I'm hearing from you is it's not really on the organization to control these things. It's really to fly is always a personal decision, right?
Yeah, it's for me. It should not be from the organization side.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Well,
For
because it would
me, it
radically
should
change the
be like
race. It would
yes,
be a
yeah, yeah,
huge.
no,
It would not be the Red Bull X Alps. If you and
no,
this is my
yeah,
main argument. It's just wouldn't be the same thing. It'd be a different race.
no, yeah, that's true. And for me, I think there really need to be a switch in the brains of the guy, of the guys who do this risky stuff. Because I don't know what's there were some really sketchy situations, and yeah, sometimes for me it's for sure they're really skilled pilots also, but sometimes you can be skilled, but it's also a lot of luck.
Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And
it was interesting. I had this conversation with Tom Dodorado just a week ago about this exact thing. And, so he was with, David's launch that went super viral. He was with that group. And then he was later with some of those, some of the guys that took off in Murano when it was screaming. It was really, really, really strong. And, and most of those launches did not end up going out. They were kept private, but he had them. And I got to see some of them. And, Patrick Von Cannell made it look really good. And that's just skill. It was just as rowdy for him as it was for the couple pilots who did it before and after. And I've talked to those pilots too, and they've all said, yeah, he had better skills than I did. But I mean, he just made it look easy, and I think that's what every athlete has to work towards, right? That that this is on the edge, but I have this move. Not I hope I have this move. That's a very different thing. I would I would have been one of those going, I hope I have this move.
For sure, skills help in the situations, but for sure. But sometimes also the most skilled pilot can have a collapse close to the 100%. Ground.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
You don't know before.
Yeah. I mean, that the super final that they had in DeSantis a few years ago, I heard all kinds of stories of really good pilots getting away with, it sounded like luck in some cases. So it can still go sideways. I don't know if you've thought about this yet, still pretty fresh, but what are you thinking about 27?
I'm thinking about 27 already, yes. And I'm already thinking of what I could change, what I would like. For now, I still have a break and I enjoy summer a bit and I train for the World Championships now. But I'm already also having an eye on 27.
Awesome. Yeah. So there was never any doubt. You're excited about doing it again.
For sure, like when you're in the race and it's hard, sometimes you're thinking like, why am I doing this? But then, I really enjoy it also. Yeah, so I'm looking forward. I never know, like it's still 2 years. I don't know what's coming, but yeah.
There's a lot of things that make this race special, as we both know. There's a lot of things. One of the things that I always just would kind of blow my mind is the places you find yourself in at certain times of the day, that you would just never be doing if you weren't in the race. You wouldn't be on some launch over beautiful morning glory at 6:00 and just the most peaceful, lovely, amazing, easy, and you wouldn't be flying around Mont Blanc when it's gnarly and ripping, and just there's a lot of things. So you find yourself in these amazing places, but it's also just everything else, the training and the preparation and the team and the special. But is there anything that really draws you back? What's the most addicting thing about this race for you personally? When you're thinking about 27, what gets you most excited?
Yeah, for me, it's really, as you already said, like this moment where you would have never find yourself if you would not join the race. It's like these hikes you would probably never do, the takeoffs where you end up, and the flights you have. it's just different with the X-Alps, and that's really what keeps me going to do it. It's so beautiful. For sure, it's a lot of work around with your team, with sponsors, and with to manage everything. And before, it's like it takes all your time. But to have this reward with all these nice moments, also, it's so huge, and this is what keeps me going. Yeah.
So sounds like more Red Bull X Alps boxes to check for you. Celine, thank you so much. I have really been looking forward to talk to you about this, after the race, after it settled a little bit. But I so much enjoyed catching up with you in a few places during the race and your team, and what an amazing campaign. Like I said, you definitely had the best adventure of anybody. I think that was awesome, and amazing footage. Those of you who are listening who haven't seen that, go back and dig through it. It's really incredible to see what Celine went through. I don't remember what day that was, 4 or 5 or something, but 4, I guess.
It was day 5.
Day 5. Okay. Okay.
5, yeah.
Excellent stuff. Good stuff. But good luck in your preparation for the Worlds. Best of luck there. I've got my competition here in Utah that same time, so I unfortunately can't go to the Worlds this year. I would have loved to, but have fun and good luck, and can't wait to see you again in 27. But I'm sure I'll see you before then somewhere along the line. But thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was really nice to talk with you. Thank you so much.
If you find the Cloud-Based Mayhem valuable, you can support it in a lot of different ways. You can give us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or however you get your podcast. That goes a long ways and helps spread the word. You can blog about it on your own website or share it on social media. You can talk about it on the way up to launch with your pilot friends. I know a lot of interesting conversations have happened that way. And of course, you can support us financially. This show does take a lot of time, a lot of editing, a lot of storage and music and all kinds of behind the scenes cost. So if you can support us financially, all we've ever asked for is $1 a show. And you can do that through a one-time donation through PayPal, or you can set up a subscription service that charges you for each show that comes out. We put a new show out every 2 weeks. So for example, if you did $1 a show and every 2 weeks, it'd be about $25 a year. So way cheaper than a magazine subscription. And it makes all of this possible. I do not want to fund this show with advertising or sponsors. We get asked about that pretty frequently, but for a whole bunch of different reasons, which I've said many times on the show, I don't want to do that. I don't like having that stuff at the front of the show. And I also want you to know that these are authentic conversations with real people, and these are just our opinions, but our opinions are not being skewed by sponsors or advertising dollars. I think that's a pretty toxic business model. So I hope you dig that. You can support us. If you go to cloudbasedmayhem.com, you can find the places to support. You can do it through patreon.com/cloudbasedmayhem. If you want a recurring subscription, you can also do that directly through the website. We've tried to make it really easy, and that will give you access to all the bonus material, little video casts that we do, and extra little nuggets that we find in conversations that don't make it into the main show, but we feel like you should hear. We don't put any of that behind a paywall. If you can't afford to support us, then just let me know and I'll set you up with an account. Of course, that'll be lifetime, and hopefully you're being in a position someday to be able to support us. But you'll find all that on the website. All of you who have supported us or even joined our newsletter or bought Cloud-Based Mayhem merchandise, t-shirts or hats or anything, you should be all set up. You should have an account, and you should be able to access all that bonus material now. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the next show. Thank you.